I'm almost concluded in my divorce of white people's comfort. I've almost concluded my divorce of the comfort of black people that are preoccupied with white people's comfort.
Talk your shit. What else, girl?
So last week on the show, there's a scene where we're sitting like this, my castmates and I in Salem, and a lot of the narrative has been between the white women and the black woman that's appearing, Bashan Shaw, that I'm too preachy, I'm too teachy, because I brought them to Harlem for the first time. And I had the audacity to center the experience around blackness. I had the audacity to center the experience around James Baldwin, Marcus Garvey,
The Harlem
Langston
Renaissance,
Hughes,
like
the excellence of black beauty and
the intellect
and intelligentsia and Du Bois. I mean, it was dope as fuck. First of all. And they hated it, and they found it boring, and they found it preachy, and they found it teachy. So fast forward, we're on this cast trip, and we're in Salem, and we're sitting around like this, having cocktails, having a good time. And one of my castmates, white Sonia Morgan, says, "You know, ladies, Ebony took me to meet her matchmaker friend in Philly. We'll get to that. And we had a great time. She was like, we talked men and love and dating, and it wasn't preachy and teachy at all." And I said, and you're making a good point, which is that because I've gained clarity on the fact that I don't believe you to be aligned with white supremacy, we can do that. Right? Ooh. Okay? And I said it just like that. And I said, and so I love to kiki. Y'all know this.
Right.
I'm with the shits.
All the shits, yes.
All of them. But we can't get to no shits and no kiki when I have an outstanding question in my head space and heart space as to whether or not you are aligned with white supremacy.
Right.
So going back to Elaine Brown, that's a strong ass statement. And y'all should have seen the faces when I said it by those that do and don't look like us. The audacity. But get the fuck out of here. That's what it is.
Right.
And I'm not going to play with y'all and mince words. No. It is, you are racist or you are anti-racist in this moment. And I think that's where I very much agree with Elaine Brown. We playing with these people. And when I say these people, I'm talking about anybody not bought in.
Yes.
To the full liberation of blackness in America.
Right.
You can be black, you can be white, you can be neither of those, and you can still be an upholder of white supremacy.
Because we keep taking the bait in a lot of these moments, which I think was the point she was really trying to make. It's like you keep taking the bait and being distracted by
small things.
Small things. And listen, and it's not to take away from the small victories, but we have. I mean, anytime I've ever heard any white person in a conversation about race bring up the fact that we had a black president, I'm immediately triggered and thrown into the spiral of, okay, so are we gonna tally up our black card? Right. How many black friends do you have?
Yep.
No, and it's even worse than that, because then one of my white castmates said to me, well, it looks like you have a great life. I don't have a Hermes bag. I don't have a this or that. But that, to your point, Bridget, that's where the conversation goes. And what I'm not going to do is sit up here and be gaslit by your ass.
Correct.
As if,
we have a whole conversation on Patreon about gaslighting, girl.
As if working my fucking ass off to have a life that you deem as first class, know that it is not because of my blackness, my dear. It is in spite of it.
Right.
Hold on. You know where we taking this then?
Let's go.
Rachel Nichols.
Let's go.
Let's talk about more of the white woman. So Rachel Nichols.
She needed a little more. She needed a little more Rachel Dolezal energy.
What'd you say?
She needed a little more Rachel Dolezal energy.
I need you. So for those of y'all who don't know, and there's no way unless you've been living under a rock, Rachel Nichols is under fire and has lost covering the NBA Finals this year after statements were actually released. So it was supposed to be something in confidence that she said that the audio ended up getting leaked, where she pretty much stated her disbelief in Maria Taylor getting a hosting gig over her.
Yes.
She said, is this her apology or, hey.
No, this is it.
Oh, this is it. So, I don't know if we can hear that, but she says instead of, go back so I can read it. I'm going to read verbatim what she said. She said, hey, instead of hosting the NBA Finals, why don't you do Doris's sideline reporter job for the NBA Finals? ? She then goes on to talk about, because guess what they would clear the way for? Here we go. Her to do it full time. For Maria to do the hosting full time. Yeah. Oh, this is okay. I'm not going to read it like this because it's weird. But basically, she had an issue with Maria Taylor, who is a black reporter, getting the gig over her and basically stating that she feels as though ESPN hired Maria for this job simply because of the BLM movement and the focus on feeling as though they are aligned with that movement and Black Lives Matter and giving a Black woman the opportunity to do this because it's good for show.
Right.
Rachel Nichols is very white and said that she feels like this was only given for kind of a diversity hire, essentially. When this leaked, she did issue an apology. A lot of people felt like the only reason an apology was issued was because she had to cover her ass. ESPN did end up not giving her any right to cover the finals. However, I don't want to spend too much time speaking on Maria Taylor or Rachel Nichols, but only in the fact that all of us, I feel like, have been in this position. I want to talk about the diversity hire, for one. A lot of y'all know I come from corporate America. So I worked at Goldman Sachs. I worked at Ernst & Young. I got 2 bachelor's degrees in 4 years. You know, I like talking my shit.
You need to.
I was going to be
every
a CPA.
Every time.
And I can.
Motherfucking time.
You know,
you should.
Yes.
Every time.
And what's crazy is when I worked in these corporate spaces, I was one of only few Black people on my teams.
Yeah.
There was a handful. And even in my first year at EY, there was a whole trip to Baltimore that we did for the first year Black and Latina hires. And what's crazy is there was maybe less than 200 of us. And this was across the whole accounting department. And I was just like, wow, like a part of me always even gives odes to NABA. I was a member of NABA, which is the National Association for Black Accountants. And I always feel that if I did not go through that association, that I possibly may not have gotten my job. Only because I do know there are a lot of corporations that do have to hire a certain amount of Black people. So when I got hired, a lot of me in this corporate space, in this top 4, in this Fortune 500 space, I felt a bit of, am I here because I busted my ass off in school and earned my degrees? Or am I here because they needed a certain amount of Black people to hire? And so in all of these spaces, I felt imposter syndrome all the time. I always felt like, am I here because they really know I know what the fuck I'm doing? Or am I here because I had to meet a quota? And when seeing this Rachel Nichols thing really happen, it's just like, damn, I wonder if this is the way the white people looked at me in these jobs, in these positions, that I was only here because they knew corporate had to meet a quota to not look a certain way.
Can I offer you something?
Talk to me.
Okay. So I want to be real clear here. I'm going to slow it down.
Let's go.
I want to make sure that as educated, qualified Black Americans, we do not allow ourselves to confuse our offering of excellence with some white people's and some white systems and some white organizations' knee-jerk default to blatant discrimination against Blackness and anti-Black sentiment. So 2 things can be true, Mandy. It is both true that you are wholly qualified for the role. It is also true that you likely only got the opportunity to show said qualification because there was a mandate that required a reconsideration of the most natural form of anti-Black sentiment and discrimination. So let us not carry the burden of feeling responsible for white systems and certain white individuals' most basic knee-jerk to disqualify Blackness on its face. Does that make sense?
No,
because this is very important.
That makes a lot of sense.
Systems and individuals in this country for forever and globally, but we're going to stay right here in America now today, okay, historically have a narrative around Blackness that goes like this. We are by default uneducated. We are by default not capable of the same level of intelligent and cognitive ability. How do I know that? Look, as recent as just this year, the NFL had something called race normalizing in the CTE program. Y'all know about it?
No, I didn't know about this.
All right.
I read about it.
I'll talk about it.
Race normalizing in the CTE?
Yes. This says that when a former or active NFL player wants to bring a legal claim against the league for CTE, which is, the
cognitive brain
the cognitive damage done by playing the game. That the Black players are literally held and evaluated to a different cognitive standard.
Get the fuck out of here.
Than white
I'm
players.
not kidding you.
That's exactly how
Look
they've
it
done
the
it.
fuck up. Because there's a presumed default of subordinate cognitive ability of Black players.
Wow.
This is for real.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are confused and you think this is just Black people talking shit and being mad and overhyping shit, it is statutory.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit up here and I don't have imposter syndrome. Never have, never will. Let me tell you why.
Talk to me.
Because I'm so fucking clear about my exceptional nature as a thinker, as a writer, as an attorney, and as a journalist, that I will never allow a space, including Real Housewives of New York.
Right. Oh, we see that.
Okay.
Bitch.
Because listen, I am a diversity hire though.
You are.
Right? There's no way that they would have ever hired any black woman to occupy the space but for the moment of Brother Floyd being murdered, the pressure of what's going on with Gabrielle Union still suing NBCU around the shit that happened to her.
That is right.
Okay? So yes, there was pressure on a system that says time's up on this bullshit. We have to put a black woman on the cast.
Can I even ask you then? You said you don't you
suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't.
You have no imposter syndrome.
No.
When knowing that you're a diversity hire, then how do you show up and not feel, I guess, angry or upset that you're literally only there because of the color of your skin?
Because I know I'm there by the color of my skin, and this is real deep because there's also the complexion of my skin, which is also part of why I'm there.
Girl, we get that all the time. We can talk about it.
But that's true.
We can talk about it.
But that's true.
We can talk about it.
So now I have to show up in the space and I have a responsibility twofold. Number one, to represent for black women, and number two, to make sure that the next time y'all motherfuckers decide to pat yourselves on the back by giving me and mine opportunities that we have long overperformed for and overqualified for, don't think you're getting a watered down motherfucking version.
Correct.
Because I particularly have a certain aesthetic.
Correct.
You're going to get this full throttle. And for the next sister that looks as light as you ladies or as dark as this motherfucking couch, you're going to respect her for her value.
I know that's right.
And that's very important.